This is Fowl Players Radio, your podcast for arts, entertainment, and pop culture. Welcome. My name is Michael Spedden, your host. Every episode features fun, fascinating stories about people in the performing arts, actors, authors, dancers, writers, musicians, athletes, you name it. Folks who are center stage, backstage, on camera, or behind the scenes. Sit back and listen. Let's have some fun. Fowl Players Radio is a proud production of the Fowl Players Group and the official podcast of the Fowl Players of Perryville.
Hi, this is Paul Castiglia, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio, the one-stop shop for all your pop culture needs.
Hello, my name is Gunhild Carling, and you are listening to Fowl Players Radio, and I am interviewed here, so tune in.
Hi, this is Kim of Kim's Crypt, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio.
And welcome back, folks, to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. My name is Michael Spedden. Tonight on Fowl Players Radio, we welcome Eric Carter and Jamil A.C. Mangan, who are both performing in August Wilson's Fences at Playhouse on Park in West Hartford, Connecticut. The show will run from November 2nd until November 20th, 2022. And for tickets and more information, please see www.playhouseonpark.org. My sidekick, Alfred Guy, joined us, and we discussed previous projects Eric and Jamil had been part of in the past. Eric has been most recently seen on Law & Order Organized Crime, as well as on FBI Most Wanted and Bull. And Jamil has been in Blue Bloods. He's a fellow Gothamite, appearing in Season 4, Episode 3, and has appeared in one of my all-time favorite horror movies, Head Trauma. If you're watching this, you're likely watching this on YouTube, and you can see that I have the greatest face in the world for radio. Here's some exciting news. Over the next few months, we will be relaunching some of our classic episodes and placing them on our new YouTube channel. Remember, Fowl Players Radio can be heard on our main website, www.fowlplayersradio.com, or any platform where podcasts can be found, such as Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many more. And don't forget our new YouTube channel, youtube.com, look up Fowl Players Radio. No matter where you listen, please remember to hit the subscribe and like buttons and be sure to give us a good review. The Fowl Players of Perryville have a few shows left this fall. We will be performing on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad on October 29th and New Year's Eve. Tickets are available at www.wmsr.com. Also, don't forget your tickets for the Polar Express, which runs on Western Maryland Scenic Railroad on selected dates from the Friday after Thanksgiving until Christmas Eve. www.wmsr.com. The Fowl Players of Perryville will be performing at 5th Company Brewing in Perryville, Maryland on October 21st, November 12th, and December 10th. Tickets are available at 5thcompanybrewing.com. Stick around. Eric Carter and Jamil A.C. Mangan will be right up. And welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. Michael Spedden here. And tonight, we've got some special guests tonight, working all the way up in Connecticut, even though that's not home for you, I don't think. We have Jamil A.C. Mangan, and we have Eric Carter. They're both in a play called Fences. That's going to be running at the Playhouse on Park in West Hartford, Connecticut, November 2nd through the 20th. We've also brought back my one of my right hands, one of my the official horror movie correspondent of Fowl Players Radio, Alfred Guy. So welcome everybody. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So
Eric, Jamil.
so I was looking, I saw your post and about August Wilson's Fences, and this is I was reading a bit about it. You know, it's won awards over the years, some Tonys, very highly respected playwright. And this was part of a series of plays for him. I believe he called it the Century Series, about, I guess it must have been about life in segregation in Pittsburgh. Is that pretty accurate?
Or even just even more broadly, because yeah, it dealt with that, but so many other things. I think it sort of chronicled the Black experience in Pittsburgh.
Sure. Sure.
And it was a 10-play cycle, and it goes all the way from the early 1900s all the way to 1990. Yeah. Yeah. And so our play takes place in the 1950s and goes into the early 60s. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess with it not being out yet, I mean, you haven't started performing yet. I guess I'm not exactly sure how much I can ask you about it. I mean, I know it's been published and performed and everything.
Yeah.
But I know, like, with
popular play. In fact, some iconic people. It was first originated the role Troy, who plays the father, who is the father in the story, was iconically played by James Earl Jones. And even as of recent, Denzel Washington took on the role on Broadway a few years back.
The movie,
and then the movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people are really familiar with the story, so we're not like too giving anything away.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know how it is when you book something and you film something, everybody's like, shh,
Yeah.
Don't tell nobody.
Yeah, theater's a little different in that regard. They're like, please tell people, we need to fill butts in these seats.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like, I guess so. If the play's been out and everything, I guess that's right. But good. So it's going to be up in Connecticut. And have you guys worked this theater before? What's it like there so far for you?
For me, well, I have never worked this theater. I never performed in Connecticut ever. So this is my first time, enjoying the weather and the people. One thing about Connecticut is not Philadelphia. That's where I'm from. I'm from Philadelphia, and
everything's sunny, right?
Yeah, everything is sunny, right? Everything is sunny in Philly.
Born and raised.
All right.
Philadelphia, born and raised.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So, but I'm enjoying it up here. Just the changes in the trees and the people are nice, and we hear some stories about bears that be running around in the forest and stuff like that. I don't do all that, but other than that, it's nice. It's nice. I'm enjoying myself up here, definitely.
Well,
good. I
good.
work at Playhouse, but I've been in. I'm pretty familiar with Hartford. A couple of years back, maybe 2013 actually. I did a play called The Mountaintop where I played MLK. And in fact, this artistic director of this theater had seen me in that show. And so we were always looking, to try to work together. And I'm happy to be back in Connecticut in this area. Yeah.
That's good.
So,
that's good.
I had a question, maybe two, depending on the answer to the first question. So the play has, you haven't started the run yet. So, but where are you as far as the interaction with the other cast members and I guess the director, and what part of the process are you in? Are you ready to go on? There's been rehearsals, the vision of the director, is that something that's been covered already?
Yeah, and then you can bounce off it. So we're in rehearsals. We're about a week in rehearsals. We've met everybody about a week ago. The director has certainly given us his, part of his vision, and I think things, he's still formulating it, and then he has blocked the whole play, in a relatively short time. And so now I think, now that we have the blocking, I think the vision will be even more clear, our intentions. And so then now we can start to get into the meat of it. Now that the structure is somewhat there.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is. We know where we're going on the stage.
Okay.
That's important. We know where to go, so we've been for a week. So tomorrow we actually going to start stumbling through the entire play.
Okay.
That tells you how fast, within a week we done blocked it, know where we're going. We don't know our lines, but we know where we're going. So we're going to start stumbling through it, and just that's the process. We keep doing it until the speed picks up, and then we're about to open up and for audience.
Yeah.
And so we have previews starting in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's that's really quick.
Yeah, that is. That is, 2 weeks to get it all together and everything. I mean, but then again, I mean, you have plenty of time to rehearse and everything. You know, you got
And
all
most
you're
professionals,
working all day. You know,
like most professional plays, I mean, 3 weeks, you blocking it and you rehearsing it for 2 weeks. That third week is usually like the tech rehearsal to get the
Mhm.
lights and stuff ready. And then that fourth week, it's time to go. So
Mhm.
yeah, you know.
Well, great. I'm excited
Very
for
cool.
you. I'm excited for you guys. You know, this really sounds like a great thing. It sounds like a play that you're both, you know, you're really enjoying, you know, being in this, and you know,
Yeah.
sounds like, you know, you like the story and everything. So yeah, no, awesome,
August,
just awesome.
August Wilson, one of the greatest playwrights, you
Yeah.
know, the 20th century, one of the greatest. So
Oh yeah, I
it is-
was reading about him, and I mean, there's plenty of. I mean, he's so many awards. I think he's in the Theater Hall of Fame. You know, he's got Tony after Tony, and that's really great. I mean, it's just, you know, one of the greats to really get a chance to get out and perform. You know, excellent.
definitely.
Excellent. Well, great. So that's going to be at Playhouse on Park, playhouseonpark.org. And I'm going to allow you guys to give your plugs at the end of the show as well. You know, and by the way, too, I mean, I'm going to get killed if I don't plug this. You know, Eric and I are both represented by CPM Talent Management out of Voorhees, New Jersey. We have George Ambrussese is our wonderful manager,
Yes.
and it does a great job. And I'm very happy to be working with her, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up here right now because of her. So, you know, that's how we do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you both a little bit. You know, Eric, you know, I saw you, or my wife and I, you know, Thursday night's our TV night, because we love, you know, Law and Order SVU, Law and Order Organized Crime. And here I am, I'm sitting there watching, and I was like, holy cow, look at that. Oh, who did I see, Eric?
Well, what was it? See, Chris Maloney. That's his name, Chris Maloney. Chris Maloney. Well, I mean, first of all, let me tell you this: I don't get starstruck.
Yeah.
I don't get starstruck, but I was starstruck that day. I mean, that experience was, you know, because like you said, I watch Law and Order. I used to watch Law and Order, Criminal Minds, all those. Shows, all of them. And, you know, you going back to know these characters, Stabler, and, you know, all these different characters. And then 20 years later, because it's been on air for 20 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
So 20 years later, you get to work with these people. And it's like, I mean, I can't even explain it. I can't explain it. It is a dream come true. You just, I can't explain it. I'm speechless. It was just a great experience. It was a great, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. My wife was fortunate enough, you know, my wife was able to book SVU, had a good part on SVU a number of years ago. And I'm convinced that she's the greatest jury foreman that they've ever had on that show.
There you go.
And another one that we got through CPM, but those shows are just incredible. I mean, and they become such a part of American culture. You know, it's just that whole franchise. I mean, I believe the original Law and Order, I think, goes back well over 30 years. I'm thinking, right?
Unbelievable. Like, I mean, as long as I can remember, it's been on TV.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, as long as I can remember.
Yeah. I see that you've I was looking on your IMDb page, and I see that you were on Bull.
Oh yeah, I shot an episode of Bull. Was it last? It probably was last year now, because Bull is no longer on. I think last year was his last season.
Yeah.
So I mean, once again, that was a great experience. I played jury number 3, I think, something like that, and I work with what's his name, Chris Jackson. He played George Washington in Hamilton. So he was the lawyer. So my scene was with him, and I mean, once again, another great experience. Working on set, I was up there because I was in the juries. I was up there for about 4 or 5 days, you know, because I was there every single day.
Sure,
yeah. So that right there is once again another great experience.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Definitely.
FBI Most Wanted was another one for you too. So was that more
Yes.
recent?
FBI Most Wanted. Yeah, and I did that one, I think, in the spring, this
Okay,
past
yeah.
spring.
Hmm.
Once again, once again, another one. You know, and that one is I remember that week too, because I had like 7 auditions that week. And it was one of those weeks where, you know, you get 8 pages of dialogue to memorize by Friday, and then this audition come in on Tuesday, and you got to turn that one by Wednesday.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
one of
yeah.
those things where they was just popping in. And I remember that because that was one of the ones I really wanted. So you know, I really thought it out, and you know, by the universe, grace of God, you know, I booked. And once again, that's through CPM Talent again, you know.
Exactly, exactly.
She submits me, and you know, it's up to me to go up there and nail it, but she submits me, give me the opportunity.
Exactly, exactly.
That's you know, just give me the opportunity. Now we see what happens after that.
Right, right. That's all you can do. You do your best to get that in on time, and
Yeah.
you know, it's nothing easy about it. You know, there's nothing easy about it. You know, we know that there's people that don't do this. You know, that they think, you know, hey, you can just go waltzing over to the studio of Law and Order SVU and say, hey, put me on, you know.
Yeah,
And
right. I
or
wish
you
it
know,
was that easy.
yeah, or that, you know, another thing that you hear is, you know, you're on, you know, one episode, all of a sudden you're a millionaire or something. You know?
Or why don't you call Scorsese?
Yeah, right.
Tyler Perry's in Atlanta. Why you just don't go down to Atlanta and go see Tyler Perry?
Yeah, let me pull them out
Yeah,
my phone.
you know what I mean?
and just call it.
They're in the yellow pages. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they're like, yeah, I'll call Scorsese. You'll say, oh yeah, you're the guy from Gotham, right? Yeah,
Right.
I was hoping you'd call me one of these days. You know, where you been? Yeah. Isn't that the truth? You know. Yep. So again, yeah, I was just, you know, I love looking through, you know, IMDb pages. I was watching your reels and everything, and all good stuff on there. If you all don't mind, in the show notes, I'll put links to your IMDb pages as well, for people to see those. And we'll definitely link to the Playhouse and everything too. I wanted to ask a little bit. You know, another show that I really like was Blue Bloods. And Jamil, I saw that you were on that, playing a lawyer in your reel.
Man, a lawyer.
Yeah, man.
That's what's up.
I was very bad because my client lied to me, man. I was fighting for her real hard, and then like, I mean, the evidence was there, man. I mean, the blood was all over her sweater. It was like, it was like nothing to do.
What you want me to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, but you know what? I mean, that was very interesting because, you know, and even as an actor, you know, you think of yourself and what your type is, right? And so, you know, yeah, and I think oftentimes we need to leave it up to other people, you know. Like I think Bob Krakauer, who was one of the film coaches or whatever, sometimes I think in his class or other people's classes, they would have the other students write adjectives about what they saw from you, you know. So it was, I say all of that to say that it was very interesting because I did not see me as sort of a white collar lawyer, you know. But I liked it, and when I did the audition, I took on the challenge, you know. And I mean, I've, you know, gone out for doctors and what have you. But yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting. It was relatively quick. It was the end of the day, you know,
right.
for them, you know, for the main people on set. But yeah, great. Yeah, shout out to Studios. They have a beautiful studio.
Yes, Alfred. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, I need to shortly run to another appointment. And by run, I mean it's not virtual. I actually have to go there. But
okay.
I did want to ask these two gentlemen a couple of quick questions, because I always find it interesting when you meet people and you know that they're involved in entertainment. And I guess the first one is for both of you. is there a medium that you like more, like best? Like you've done plays, you've done TV, and I guess you've done movies. At least one, I know one of you have done movies. Is there one you prefer, or is it all the same? You just want to entertain?
For me, I'm more comfortable on stage. That's because that's where the first 10 years of my training came at.
Okay.
But the money is in the movies.
Okay.
But artistically, it's stage and film acting is different. So I like the challenge of going back and forth artistically. And I feel more comfortable on stage, but sorry, the money is in the film and the TV. So
right.
You know, in this world,
Yeah.
that's why I'm leaning towards now, a little later on in my career.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the business, TV and film is where it's at. But in the question in terms of what I prefer more, I do prefer theater. I just find it. I find that I'm most alive. I love that instant reaction from the audience, and really feeling that energy. And it is a shared experience that is unique every performance, and you won't get that again.
Yeah.
And so that's where like the beauty in it, and there's beauty in film and whatnot, and creating visual pictures and what have you. But just having all these group of people who are having this one unique experience is something just very powerful.
Yeah. Thank you. It's always interesting to hear those responses and the reasons behind them, like why do you prefer one over the other? I always find that interesting. And I guess the quick follow-up, and I got to ask one more, because it's so great when you can talk to people who are doing some things that you're doing, even more than what I'm doing. But now this one has to do with genre of films or theater or TV movies or whatever, because Mike introduced me as the horror correspondent or whatever, and it's there, it's back there. Is that something you have a favorite genre, or do you even think about it in that term? So you're just thinking about, is it good, this thing that they want me to do, or do you have a genre that like, I really get into that, like comedy, I get into that, crime, I get into that?
For me, I don't. It's really, is it good, and how much of a challenge is it going to give me? I'm gonna be honest, like earlier on when I first started training, a lot of my roles were like that hoodlum thug role. And I guess at that point it was good because I was learning the art and learning certain things about it. So growing up in my neighborhood, I was probably more familiar with those type of people. So it helped me understand it. But as I get older, I would definitely want to play a lawyer one day, or a doctor, or whatever. But at this point in my career, it's how much of a challenge is it going to stretch me? And and if I can do it, I can do anything. That's the ideas that come in my head. So.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting that you said that. And I think that goes back to my other question earlier when Mike was posing, that I think that I had been so pigeonholed and stereotyping the one particular thing that when I got lawyer, I was like, oh my God, what? And even the same thing, and I know we didn't talk about it, the same thing even with Gotham. Like I think the character, it was Eager Man, but it was just like, I think the way they described him was like money, rich, what I'm saying? Affluent, you know what I mean? And so I just, because I don't know, and maybe it's some ingraining, and that's a topic for another, show, but it was just like, I didn't see that. And so when I booked in fact, it was a mutual client of my agent. And this gentleman was debonair. Okay, I mean, he just had like pretty long hair. He was
Mhm.
Australian. He had the accent and And then when I got the role over him, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what? Like, yeah. So, you know, and I think those kind of things really boost up. And so it's just really seeing what other people think about you.
Mhm.
Then, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Then the programming that we do, you know, on our own selves.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I first I want to, you know, thank both of you for, you know, sharing those things with me. And Mike, thank you for inviting me. And I'm sorry I have to cut it short, but
Sure.
I knew that, but I wanted to get in here, you know, for a little bit because it's always interesting. And again, thanks, Mike. And,
absolutely,
and you two
Alfred.
gentlemen, and good best of luck with the play. You know, break a leg, have a good
Thank
show,
you.
and it was great seeing you and talking to you.
It was a
And I'm gonna go
pleasure
ahead
meeting
and
you.
sign out now. Take care, everyone.
Yes, sir.
All right, my
You as
man.
well.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep.
You too.
Thanks again, Alfred.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Mike. Good
Yep.
night.
So that was Alfred. Alfred's gonna, has another engagement this evening. But it's always great to have Alfred join us tonight because he always brings, some great questions to the table, and he's such an expert. He's such a movie buff and everything. And I'm proud to say that I was able to stump him with you, with head trauma. If I may, I'd like to ask a little bit more about your Gotham experience. So it was season 4, episode 3 is what I saw. And tell us a little bit about your episode. Who were you? Who were the main Gotham characters? Did you have any of the main cast that you were interacting with?
Harlequin Kent. Quinn. Yeah. And at this moment, she was teaming up with Cat Girl. She's
right, sure.
And Harlequin was starting to get into guns and selling like these major guns. And so I was a big gun dealer that was coming in to buy like cases. And so in the beginning of the episode, she's showing me the power of this gun. And then so she shoots a guy in front of me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want 2 dozen. This kind of a thing, man. And I mean, it was such a fantastic. And so the funny thing about that episode was, right, I think when the gentleman hired me, the director, he thought I had an African accent. So when I got to the set, he was like, I thought you had an African accent. You did an African accent. And then that was great. That was great. That was, yeah. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize I did it. And I didn't do an African accent. So I was like, oh, I didn't. Oh, right. I did. Yeah. Okay. He was like, well, can you do one now? I was like, yeah. So he wanted an African accent. I think the gentleman was British South African. So, it was just something that was akin that he wanted. To add, I guess, more flavor to that particular episode, but
he put you on the spot.
Yeah, and I can't think of the actress' names offhand that played Harlequin, but she was quite lovely. I think, she was British, and I got to speak with her quite a bit. The woman playing Catgirl was really into her lines because she had a bigger scene coming after. But Harlequin really spoke to me, and she told me that she had just come back, from their break. Learning filmmaking, and I thought that was extraordinary because then she was really interested in how the camera was looking, what angle, what I mean, the camera was coming from, so that she could do her job to assist that in the camera movement. And so she was familiarizing herself with the terminology, and I thought that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
For somebody that's already been on a long running, for a couple of episodes, seasons, to then realize and take that, initiative. Yeah.
Like every day you get better. You can always learn something to make you better. So,
and I did Quantico, and who else did the same thing? Maybe he didn't take film classes, but he had been on major sets for so long. We were talking about him the other day. He did the other thing with Jay Fonz. Blair Underwood. Blair Underwood.
Oh, sure. Right.
I did Quantico with Blair Underwood, and he would like talk to the cameraman. Is this a wide? Is it da-da-da-da? Is this a tight? Because that affected his performance and what he was going to do for that particular moment. So, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just when that was my first trip to the dance was Gotham.
Gotham.
Yeah, before I got signed by CPM, I was just basically a local band guy, and I had, shown that I could do some community theater. And, fortunately, our manager saw something in me and I got signed. And I've been doing pretty well since then. But that was my first trip to the dance. I mean, I almost felt like, you ever see the movie Rudy?
Yeah.
That's what
I love
that's
that
almost
movie.
what I
Great
felt
movie.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And I got-
man. I mean, Gotham is it's a great show to be your first dance, man. That's fantastic.
It was. And I was just, I'm always fascinated. I mean, even when I was doing like local commercials, down in Baltimore, I was always fascinated in the things that, what's that?
I said use the Viking on what's that?
JG Wentworth. JG Wentworth, yes.
JG Wentworth.
Yeah.
I was the Viking on the bus. As a matter of fact, that was in Connecticut too. We filmed that in Stamford.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Then we listened to that song all day.
Yeah.
10 hours on that bus listening to that song. And I'll tell you that story real quick if you want. First of all, Eric has met me before because actually we worked together on the Amazon commercial, not together, but we were in the same project. I'm 6'6". Okay, so if I walk onto a city bus where we filmed Wentworth, and I'm in my basically socks, and I stand straight up, I'm the exact height of the bus, head to toe, okay. So I got there and I was walking. I went out to my car to get something I forgot and come back in. And I hear the guys, like all the producers and everybody say, how's this going to work? Did you see how tall that guy is? And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm getting sent home. And I was like, oh, crap. And they said, well, but the thing is that those horns were an additional 8 inches higher. And then there was also lights and stuff up on the ceiling of the bus. So I pretty much, when they were doing everybody else, how everybody kind of comes in with, this part and that part. I had to stand in the back door, like the steps that led to the back door of the bus. And then when I came in, I kind of had to like stay crouched down, step backwards and around this girl, and then come into the camera as smooth as I could while the bus is bouncing around and everything.
Oh, no.
And I got to tell you what, Suzanne Summers had nothing on that Buns of Steel workout that I got that day.
That's right. I know that's right.
I had to basically stay crouched back and around somebody. And good grief, man, I was sore. I tell you, I went home, got in the hot tub after that. That was quite a job.
Let me ask you, how long did it take y'all to shoot the commercial? Was it a one-day shoot?
One day. Yeah. It was a 1-day shoot, and I booked that when it was right after Gotham. Hey folks, we hope you're enjoying this episode of Fowl Players Radio. We'll be back right after these words.
Hello, this is John Piet,
Kevin Schmidt,
and Jerry Bozick, and we're August, a little band from Virginia. You can hear our story, other stories from the legendary Baltimore, D.C. music scene, and much, much more with Michael Spedden on Fowl Players Radio. You can find it at www.fowlplayersradio.com, on YouTube, and wherever you find podcasts online. Keep rocking.
This is A.D. Adams, and you are tuned in to Fowl Players Radio with your host, Michael Spedden.
Yeah, hi, this is David Simmons from DC Star, and I am just encouraging all of you to tune in to Michael Spedden's show on Fowl Players Radio and love the rock and roll of the past and the art of the future.
That was just a great time, and I met a lot of really nice people on that shoot too. I've actually had like 3 or 4 of them on the podcast, and there were some Broadway folks on there and some folks that have done some different short film series and everything that you find on YouTube and that sort of thing. So really had a good time with those people, and I really made a lot of nice contacts up there. So I wanted to ask about Head Trauma. Now, this is, like I said, I just happen to love this movie. I had you seen The Last Broadcast? too. That was the one that he had done before Lance Weiler did.
Yeah. It's been a while. I can't really recall it, but yeah, he showed me that earlier on. I do remember when we first started working on the project. Yeah.
And the thing was like, that movie ended with a huge twist too.
It had a twist too. Yeah.
So you played actually a teenager, I think, named Julian, who was the neighbor of the protagonist. And I guess those of you who haven't seen it, and it's been out for 15 years, so I will do some spoilers.
I'm gonna go watch it tonight after this.
Yeah, it's on Amazon actually.
All right.
He a fellow who has been kind of a drifter comes back to the Philadelphia area, and his grandmother's house had been vacant for a number of years, and he wants to try to salvage it so he can sell it to make some money. And he happens to run into all these people that he grew up with, or people that he knew from the area growing up and everything. But people had been using the house for shenanigans and squatting and things like that. And goes into the house, runs into Julian. I think him and Julian, scuffle. He ends up getting thrown down the steps and hits his head. And then Julian's grandmother gets involved. They take him over there. She's laying him down. He wakes up and he recognizes the grandmother as the neighbor. And Julian's punishment is to help him have to clean and get the house together. And then strange things are coming back into his head. They're finding things in the house. And you're trying to put this whole puzzle together. It's like, what does this stuff mean? Is this just, and then finally, in the final scenes of it, they put it together that, he inadvertently caused the death of a young lady, and he was young, he was scared, he hid the body. And that's what all these nightmares that came from getting hit in the head came from.
Because he got into a car accident right after
Yes.
burying his body and completely forgot all about it.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And then it comes back to him years later. So God, this is I mean, I've loved this movie from the time I saw it. I liked his work before. I saw that this came out. I bought that and I was like, this is great stuff. Do you happen to know Lance Weiler well, or do you,
man, we haven't been in touch in a long time. I actually keep up with his wife more than I do with him on social media, with a few likes here and there. There was a time where, I would definitely, if he was in New York, I would do the New York screening. I remember doing a screening at the, many years later, at the New York Institute of Film and Technology. And so he would, invite me over, as well as oftentimes I would still talk to Vince Mola.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The main character, yeah.
Yeah. But I met when I booked the role, I met Lance through another company I was working with called Big Picture Alliance at the time. And we were teaching young people how to, do filmmaking. And so we did a film called Music City, a big film that they had produced, and so then Lance was saying, "Oh, I'm looking for a teenager." Now at the time I wasn't quite a teenager. In fact, I was just graduated from college.
I mean, you look young.
Yeah,
you look young.
Yeah. I look young.
I bought it. Hey,
you bought it, right? Thank you. And it was the right time for me too, because I even had to adjust my voice, because my voice was already deep then, and it was and it was getting deeper, which was an interesting time for me too, because that's why I didn't work much after doing that film, was because I had such a baby face and a deep voice, and people didn't know what to do with me, like for film and TV. And so then that's why theater became more my home, and so. So I met Lance, and he and I hit it off, and then I did a read with Vince. Me and Vince, I mean, he was such a hoot in real life that I just love this guy. In fact, he was, I think, called the Mad Fan in Philadelphia.
Mad Fan.
Yeah, he would paint his face, but he would go crazy.
Oh, he was one of those. He was one of those.
But he was like, it was called Super Fan. It was a whole character called Super Fan, and like had a cape on, and it was a whole Eagles thing. He was well known around the time from even doing that. It was like, yeah. So you know, he was a real character even in real life. So you know, so, it was funny. So he was perfect. And it was exciting, and we shot it up in Syracuse, PA, and yeah, in that house that was very dilapidated, and it was very authentic. It looked like people probably had squatted.
Yeah, in more ways than one.
Right. And so they kept a lot of it, and then they had to really even mess it up even more to make it really look, decrepit. And then they really cleaned it out, man. And the things that they just did, with, because it wasn't $1 million plus budget, but the things that Lance did creatively was just really extraordinary. And they built a whole pool in the basement so that it looked like the basement flooded.
I was going to ask about that.
So yeah, we had on, pants. I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump the gun, Mike.
No, please. That's fine.
So we had on, like sort of boat pants, and so I'm having to come in, and he's faced in this water, and I'm pulling him up, and having to do so many takes of that because it was winter. Okay, so that water was freezing. And winter in Syracuse in the mountain hills. Oh my goodness. Yeah, man. We always had to have space heaters, like it was.
How long was y'all shooting for?
Man, we shot for a whole week, if not a week and a half. Yeah. And then we rehearsed some in Philadelphia, and then headed over to Syracuse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where is Syracuse, Pennsylvania? I'd never heard of that before.
No, I'm sorry. Where's Syracuse? Syracuse, New York. I'm so sorry.
It was in Syracuse, New York. Okay.
My apologies. Syracuse, New York. Yeah. My apologies. Yeah.
Oh man, that's what you call winter.
Right. Yeah. I got Philly and then PA and then Syracuse, PA, but Syracuse. Yeah. Right. Come on, man. I remember, I was interested in going to Syracuse University, and I was just like, I went there one day for a visit in the wintertime.
In the winter?
Trying to climb those hills of snow, man. Beautiful campus. I'm sure it's great education, but it's just like, nah. No.
I know some people that were from there, and it's right on the Great Lakes, I believe. And you're like, that snow just blows in off the lake, like, it's just, piles, it's crazy up there. So that's interesting. You did answer a lot of questions that I was going to ask about the house and, how you did that basement scene with, you had to go down there. And I remember, I think I watched some of the, there were some outtakes, like an outtakes reel at the end of it, or like extras. And I think I remember hearing Vince Mola screaming after getting into that water because it was so damn cold.
It was so cold.
And and having to be down there. Oh
yeah, man. And because he had to be in it the longest. And Vince was at the time, real thin, man. He was I'm sure he was freezing in there. And sometimes he had to shoot some scenes with his shirt off and
I know. Yeah, I know. And then
what we do.
He was in that, in that house and everything. And I'm sure filming in that, was the house, you said it was in bad, was it actually abandoned? Was there electrical, did you have like electricity in there, or did you have to use generators, or how did you do that?
I think they were able to get the electricity on. I think they worked some kind of deal with the city, because it was, the shell of the house was still, in shape. But, and I guess that's why we were, whatever, he was able, his folks were able to pull together, that's why we went to Syracuse, because we were able to use that. And it had the right feel, you know what I mean? And it was large enough, and it was great.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they were hanging out outside. You're sneaking cigarettes and
right, yeah. And one of my favorite scenes too is that whole fight scene when I discover him. You know what I mean? Because it's not much lighting; it's our flashlights. You know what I mean? You don't even know what's going on. So that's what I mean, like that creative. You know what I mean? things that he had in,
He just-
at his
yeah,
disposal that he used,
Yeah.
and that really just gave that feel. What is happening? There's a scuffle in the hallway, and all you see is flashes and maybe pieces of my arm and vents and da till then I'm throwing them out. Or we have that little in the hallway, and now the only thing light we have is the flashlights on our faces. Who are you? Who are you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This is my house. No, this is my house. Then the one scene I like when he says, "Yeah, they used to call me Summer Boy" or something like that, and you started laughing at him.
Right. And the woman that plays my grandmother, we are still like mainly social media friends, but I still call her my grandmother to this day. I still call her my grandmother. Yeah.
Oh yeah. She was good. She was good.
Great.
Oh, I mean, I thought everybody was great in that movie. He really, really chose wisely. Even the guy that he had he punched and he took the pump from him. That guy who actually broke the pipe in the house to let the water out.
Yeah. I remember that guy too. Yeah, I was there for that shoot day. Yeah, he was great. Yeah. I mean, no, he was an actor because he almost looked like an inspector. Like he
did, yeah.
He looked so authentic. Even when he came in, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He did, and he seemed like the kind of guy that they cast and outfitted him perfectly. I think that was that guy, and that's all you could say about that. But that's really great. I mean, like I said, this is one of my all-time favorites, just because I thought, like I said, I thought all of you performed very well in it, and just the twist of the story, and how the fact how he was able to keep people on the edge of their seat during that, because it's a tense movie, because you don't really you never really understand what's going on with him with these dreams and all these other things, and then it all finally makes sense at the end. Just like really, his other one, the last broadcast did too. And the last broadcast, for listeners who may not have seen it yet, was it was compared to Blair Witch, but it was actually before Blair Witch. It was found footage. A bunch of guys wanted to go out to the woods to film they were trying to find the Jersey Devil. It was one of those cable TV paranormal shows. And they get killed, and then they find footage, and then they get an FBI person to fix the film that got destroyed or damaged. Then the killer's revealed at the end. And but it was actually before Blair, like a year before, or months before Blair Witch came out, they had that one. And I believe he's Lance Weiler's teaching now, right?
Yeah, he does quite a bit of teaching these days. Yeah. I'm not sure where.
I think it was Columbia.
Columbia? Oh, he's in the Columbia? He's in the New York? Okay.
I think it was, yeah. Columbia or Cornell, one of the two, I think. Okay. I know it was a prestigious school, I think, that began with a C. So it's
okay.
One of those there. So great. Well, this is just amazing. With it being Halloween, real quick, Halloween season, real quick. Do either one of you have any maybe favorite horror movies or anything you'd like to mention, before we wrap up?
Favorite horror movie? There's so many.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of mine, man. One of mine growing up that really used to freak me out, and I kind of still love it. It's a little gimmicky now, now that I'm much, much older. But man, Freddy Krueger, man.
Freddy.
Oh man, you just hear that 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
Freddy's
man,
I like Freddy. I used to watch that all the time. But I am, and not because it's out now, but I like the first two Halloween movies.
Yes.
Because you know why? Because Halloween, I figure, can actually happen. Somebody can actually break out of a mental institution and go around and do things that can actually happen. That's what it is. So maybe Halloween for me. That's probably what it is.
That's great. In response, the Freddy Krueger. I saw that in the theater, the very first one. I saw it in the theater, and it was a wild night, in the theater, because it was the things that they did in that movie had never been done before. But the thing was the scary parts of those movies were the things that we all have in our nightmares.
Yeah.
They're trying to run up the steps and your feet get stuck in that mushy, whatever that was. And then, you see somebody, then, his arm got real long with the claw on the end of it. And all those other things that happen in our nightmares, I mean, they really did a good job with that, I think.
Yeah.
And
they played on our fears that we have. In our night. Yeah.
That was Wes Craven, right? Wes Craven did that, Freddie?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was afraid to go to sleep, man. I was just like, for a decade, man. I think
Hearing that song.
It did a number. Yeah, it did a number on me. It did a number.
And then, I mean, I'm not so sure about Friday the 13th part 72, but I think the first one was,
or Freddy versus Jason, and then Freddy, Freddy, they ran into
Jason in space,
right?
Futuristic Jason. Like, all right.
The Halloweens, the first two Halloweens, I thought were very. Again, I like those as well. They were, I think, very well done. Story was told well. And the thing was, they kind of made him somewhat immortal, but they didn't get ridiculous with it. Of course, they shoot him. He sits up at the end, and then comes back for part 2.
Yeah.
But it didn't get to the point where it was, like he wasn't like a Gotham character who died 40 times and then came back. I mean, because that was a part of
right.
If you were a mainstream Gotham character, I think you died at least 4 times,
yeah. What about the Fly? Yeah, the Fly could be considered a horror, ain't no?
Yeah.
The Fly, man. I love the Fly, man. When he transformed the next,
I haven't seen that in so long. Wow,
that movie grossed me out, man, when he transformed.
Another thing, like any movies that have to do with like religion, like The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no!
Like because
the original Exorcist, the first one, man, that with Linda Blair, that freaked me out, bro. Now I think that is my favorite. I'm sorry to cut you off. You brought it up. It is The Exorcist. It's The Exorcist for me. Yeah.
It's those religious movies because I'm coming up in a family that's religious, and you hear all these things, and it's like, that's the layer.
Yeah.
It's those layers.
And what's even more scarier that you check out? The behind the scenes of the Exorcist. And how they talk about how they shot it. And I can't think of the director's name. Like he would shoot a gun. They tied Linda Blair to a rope that just yanked her in the bed. This young girl, man. Like, yeah, man, the things that
that's how they did it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean things that you can't do today.
Yeah,
man.
You can't.
The child labor laws and to protect that, man. It's crazy. Or shooting a live pistol so that your actors can be shot.
Yeah, be really shot.
You're right about things that you can't do today anymore. Like that. To kind of add to that, I had heard a story. I had Billy Van Zant on. Billy, he was a well-known television writer. Earlier in his career, he was one of the kids in Jaws 2 that went out on the sailboats. And he was telling me that, when they were filming the scenes where they were getting knocked out of the boat and, scuba divers were coming to simulate, the shark pulling them underwater and everything. He was saying that where they were filming that was in the water right next to a tuna cannery, and there was all kinds of just awful things in the water that they had to swim in day after day. And it was just a real mess. But that's another one of those things that they just, they did back then. And it was rough on actors back in those days. If you think about what Boris Karloff had to go through just to get made up to be Frankenstein monster.
Yeah, I heard those stories. Yeah.
Yep. What Buddy Ebsen went through to be the Tin Man almost killed him. I mean, it's
all for the art, right? That's what they used to say.
Yeah.
Do it for the art. Right? You got to be safe. You got to be safe.
You sure do. And I remember too, the way they take safety nowadays, I was on Gotham when they shot me. I mean, the actual gun, I mean, they in post, they put the boom into the gun. But I mean, I just fell forward and I had like, one of those thick gymnastics mats, like the kind where you go off the parallel bars and you land on that in school. A thick mat like that. I had knee pads on, elbow pads. I actually had earplugs in, and then they squibbed me in the back. And I went through a class on that and everything. And they really went through everything.
Oh, they put you through a class?
Yeah. Well, not really a class, but it was a talking.
A quick training.
You went through it,
Yeah. And there was a professional stuntman there too, to watch you go through that. But yeah, I mean, with the genre of horror, I mean, even the things Lon Chaney did to look like the Phantom of the Opera. I mean, he actually had fish hooks up his nose to get to that position.
Ooh.
I read all about that. I had a guest on here who had written a book about that, and I'd read the book, and it was like, good Lord. I mean, he was torturing himself to get that look. I mean, because he actually kind of came up with that. And
Yeah. I don't know about that. Ego though.
Yeah. If one of my actors, a guy I had in the troupe last year doing Polar Express, his parents made him an ET costume when he was a kid. His parents he was one of my neighbors growing up, made the greatest Halloween costumes. They both went to Maryland Institute of Art. They knew their stuff. Made him this ET costume where the heart lit up. He had a battery pack in there to make the heart light up. And the battery pack shorted and was shocking him the whole time he was out trick-or-treating. And the thing was made out of pleather, the fake leather. And he was sweating like a pig. And it's like, he's like, Mom. And she's like, suck it up. There's a contest tonight. You're going to win.
I put my sweat and tears into this costume.
Absolutely.
You're going to wear it.
Yeah. That's right. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight here. I mean,
thank you.
It was, a pleasure to speak with both of you. Eric, it's always great to run into you. We had a lot of fun that day on the Amazon set,
Definitely, Mike. Appreciate it.
I appreciate having you guys too. I've had, Liz on, a couple of years ago. I think it was right after I met you all, through Georgianne. I had Liz on, and had a couple of other CPMers on there. I've been chasing you for a while, mister, and I'm glad I finally got you. But it's great. This is we do this for a number of reasons. First of all, we like to give young people, and one of the reasons is to give young people a chance to hear guys that are working like you got, talk about their experience, what things are really like in this business. To preserve history. A lot of I started out as playing music. There are a lot of bands, from the area I grew up in that you may not have known them outside of here, but around here for years they were like the Rolling Stones. I'm trying to preserve that history. If you remember old independent television stations for wherever you grew up, there was always the ones that were not NBC or CBS, or like the ones that ended up getting picked up by Fox much later. The programming that was original. A lot of these stations were like Weird Al Yankovic on UHF, trying to kind of preserve that history too. I've had radio personalities and having you guys on, I mean, it's Jamil, it was nice to get to meet you finally, after being in a movie that I've really enjoyed for many years. Eric, it's always a pleasure to, hang out, get a chance
to each other.
Yeah, running into each other.
Georgianne house again. He played the guitar for us the last time we went over my manager house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they put up with me. Yeah, they. I didn't bring my tuner with me, and the thing was, pretty out of whack, and it was a little chilly then.
Sound good. I don't want to hear that, Mike. You still sound good, man.
Well, thank you. They have to listen to my silliness and my lyrics and everything. But so let's go ahead and we'll plug fences one more time. If you could just tell us about that one more time, when it is and where and everything.
Sure. Fences is playing at Playhouse on Park in West Hartford, Connecticut. We run from November 1st all the way to November 20th. Show dates run from Tuesday to Sunday. We have 2 on Saturday and matinee on Sunday, and as well as 1 on Tuesday. So you can go on playhouseonpark.com. And if you're in the Hartford or even Massachusetts area, because Massachusetts is nothing but a hop and a skip. Yeah, check out Fences by August Wilson. Directed by Kenneth Green.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Anything else coming up for you that you'd like to plug or
I mean, right now I'm on the board of the Playwrights Devil New Play Foundry, Seven Devils Play Foundry, New Play Foundry. And we're on our fundraising campaign. It's a wonderful organization that helps to foster new playwrights, and it caters to the playwrights. And we bring them out for a sort of playwright incubator, if you will, in McCall, Idaho, in the mountains, the Seven Devil Peaks. There's the reason for the name. And they get to write, and they have actors that come, and we invite actors to just come there. They get new pages, sometimes 30 minutes before even performing the piece. And so it's a great organization. So if people would like to donate, they can come over to Seven Devils New Play Foundry. Yeah, check us out.
Well, great, wonderful. It's always good, mentoring is so important in this. It really is. And that's great to hear that you're doing that. So well, Jamil, Eric, it's been a pleasure tonight, guys. I really enjoyed our conversation. And Alfred had a great time too. He just texted me as he was leaving to go do his other thing here. So so folks, we had Jamil AC Mangan and Eric Carter here on Fowl Players Radio. Make sure you check him out in August Wilson's Fences at the Playhouse on Park, West Hartford, Connecticut, playhouseonpark.org for tickets. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Hi, everybody. Dwight Weems from Gaz the Fun Band, and you're watching and listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Hi, this is Bud Becker, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Well, folks, thank you for tuning in tonight and listening to our episode with Eric Carter and Jamil AC Mangan, and also Alfred Guy, my official horror movie correspondent of Fowl Players Radio, who joined in. And we had a great time talking tonight. Make sure, if you happen to be in the West Hartford, Connecticut area or anywhere nearby, that you go see Eric and Jamil in August Wilson's Fences at Playhouse on Park, West Hartford, Connecticut. Again, tickets for that show are available at www.playhouseonpark.org. It was also a great time getting to talk about their past television shows, their past movies they've been in, and also really getting a chance to ask some questions about my favorite horror movie of all time, Head Trauma. So, folks, that'll do it for tonight, and we will see you next time. www.fowlplayersradio.com. And remember to watch us on YouTube, www.youtube.com, Fowl Players Radio. Also, don't forget, www.fowlplayersofperryville.com for murder mystery shows coming up with the Fowl Players of Perryville. We will see you soon.